of Yeshua Aryeh Leib ben Yonas and Chaim HaKohen, that his neshama should have an aliyah, and we should have Bila Movis Lanetzach, which means that a day is coming with Mashiach, that just listen to those words of the prophet, Bila Movis Lanetzach, that death will be swallowed up from the world forever. Which is it's something very much to look forward to. And as we know it, especially for a Kohen, and Josh is a Kohen, Kohanim have something where they're not even shaykh to death. They can't go into a cemetery. They're beyond the world of death. So especially that there are those that, like the priests, who are already in this place where they're like above death, in potential. When Mashiach comes, it's fully going to be actualized, that feeling of being beyond death. And death, as we know, will cease to exist. As I was going to the funeral today, so Rabbi Dovber and I were learning, and there was a mashal, there was an analogy, a famous analogy that was said, and that I just want to mention it very much in brief, but it's very, very moving. And the analogy is two babies in the womb. And these two babies that were inside the womb, so one was, you might call more of a believer, and one was more of a skeptic. So the baby in the womb that was the believer said, there's going to come a time that we're going to leave here, and we're going to go somewhere, and we're going to meet our mother. And the skeptical baby is like, what? This is it, man. This is all there is. Look, we're being fed here. We get food. This is life. There's something out there, but that's it's called nothing. It's called you fall out and you're done. And they had quite an argument about this. That no, once you leave, we're going to meet our mother. We're going to meet. And the other one said, no, this is it. Like you come here, you eat, and you're sustained in like this pod, and it's warm and cozy and comfort. It sounds like watching the New York Jets just with some Doritos. It's just comfortable and nice. But then that's it. And the other one said, no, you don't understand. And all of a sudden they felt like a rumbling. And the believing child started to move, and he started to fall out. And he heard crying. And he was so worried, he's gone forever, my brother. And he just left. And now I'm all alone, and I'm also going to face my fate and my destiny. What he doesn't realize is that when that brother came out, the brother inside the womb heard the cries, but on the other side, everybody was saying Mazel Tov, and everyone was welcome to the world. Welcome to the world now. We're so happy you're here now. And here's your mother. Welcome to the real world. That's an analogy of what death is. This world seems like it's so real, and it's kind of, that's it at the end. But this world is like a womb, it's called the Zman HaIber, like the time of being in the fetus, if you will. And in this world, there seems to be something very scary when a person passes on. But for the believing person, they know that this world is just the preparation. I'm going to go meet my mother. I'm going to go meet the one who's been sustaining me the whole time. Do you get what I'm saying? We're in this womb. God is sustaining us the whole time. But you don't see, you're in the womb. And then once we transition out of this world, that's why all the images that the sages and the Kabbalists talk about of leaving this world is all tunnels, is all going through corridors. Do you understand what that means? a child moving through the corridor as it's entering. And it's almost absurd from the perspective of the ones who are in the world of the born to look at the ones in the world of the womb and think, you guys think that's it? It's so not it that it's basically absurd to think that that's it. You're about to come to the world now. That's all just an analogy, that what you think this world is it is just a Iber time of getting ready to transition into the real world, where everything is clear and you meet the one, the mother, who's been sustaining you all along. And so for those that spent their life doing Torah and mitzvahs, learning, so they're ready for that transition. We all wish people to live 120 years, but they're ready that transition is going to be happening because it's clear to them. That's why the Gemara says that when a person is a tzaddik, him leaving this world is like taking a hair out of milk. It's like a very, very smooth, just comes right out because the child is coming out and is like, ready to come to the next phase, to the real world. But sadly, the one who spent their life running away from Torah and mitzvahs, and they thought that this was it, the New York Jets are it, and I'm picking on football right now, because it's just insane how much people are watching this stuff, and absorbed in it, it's actually insane. Now it's baseball?
No, I thought the Jets were baseball.
Okay, Baruch Hashem. That's actually nice to hear. I thought the Jets were baseball. That is great news. That makes me very happy, actually, to hear that. You just consoled me a little bit. That there's more hope for humanity than I thought. But those who hung on to this world, Chazal say when they leave this world, it's kind of a scary imagery. It's like pulling out thorns from wet sheepskin. The wool of the sheep, it gets wound in there, and you're trying to rip out some thorns from there.
Is that a Gemara also, or is it just Chazal?
Yeah, the Gemara. The Gemara says it in Sukkah, I believe. Shabbos. Yuma. That the soul, when it leaves this world, there's a feeling of but I was so identified with this world, so don't pull me away. It's like that second brother who was the skeptic, that when he's about to fall out of the womb, he's like, no, I don't want to leave. This is it. Everything was being taken care of here. I don't want to leave this world because then there's nothing else there. He was so held on to it. Whereas the one who knows, I know where I'm going. The Jews, we have big, thick books on how to die. What to think about, what's going to be happening. Real stuff. Preparations. Like the thick ones on the shelves? Like those big Gemaras, we have that for how a Jew, just like the same way how we wake up in the morning and say, Moida'ani, how we live our life. Look how big the Mishnah Berurah is. Look how big Shas is. That's how we live our life. There's big books like that, how we transition to the next world. Everything is with consciousness. Everything. Everything is with consciousness, with Darkecha. That's what we're learning. Everything is with consciousness, with Darkecha. And so we're blessing our dear, beloved friend, Yeshua Aryeh ben Yonis and Chaim, Zechron Livracha, HaKoyen, that transition should be very smooth. And he has a lot of people here who love him, who are learning Torah in his merit. And it should be a big Ilui Nishmasa, and he should be a Melitz Yosher, because when a person goes into that world, even though the child in the mother's womb can kick and can communicate, in a certain way, once the child's out, it's more face-to-face. It's a little bit more direct, if you will. It's a little bit more straight. And that's why we say when a person transitions from this world, they can sort of get a lot more stuff done sometimes, because it's all clear up there. I'll just leave you with this before we go a little bit more weiter in the Sefer. When Rav Noach Weinberg, a blessed memory, our beloved Rosh Shiva, passed away, So we were working on buying this building next door and getting all the permits, the giant world center here. And it took a very long time to get things moving, and there was a lot of red tape. We're talking about a huge amount of property on the Western Wall Plaza. There's a lot to get something like that up and running. And there was things that were stuck in bureaucracy for a very long time. Remember, I was here, it was like a construction war zone with nothing moving, like many parts of Israel are. Just halted construction that just takes decades to actually move forward. And Rabbi Noach passed away, and all of a sudden, within a short period of time, a couple weeks, red tape started like lifting, and they had things, and then next thing you know, like builders are coming in, and then I see chandeliers and tiles showing up from Italy. I was looking down, I remember looking down on the balcony, I saw these huge, they would bring huge slabs, like Italian marble. It's like, what is happening? It's a whole thing. And the next thing you know, we're doing Chanukah Sabayis. We had all the guys in the yeshiva who was like scrubbing the floors the night before. All the donors were flying from the whole thing in a very quick period of time. Because what happened? Rabbi Noach went up to heaven and he said, Hashem, mamish. Someone told me one time that what he did when he went up to heaven is, Rabbi Noach spent his whole life telling people, Hashem, Jews, like, what are you guys doing to save the Jewish people? He would tell Jews. So Rabbi Noach came up to Shamayim and he said, Hashem, what are you doing to save the Jewish people? With that finger. And I was like, okay, Rabbi Noach, get it going. Send the message, send the angel, get the stuff moving down there. Very fast, mamish. So Mirz Hashem, that Yeshvar Yalev should be a mamish meletz yosher for all of us to end all the craziness right now in the world. B'siyat d'shmaya. Amen. Moving forwards in the Vekas. We mentioned yesterday a tremendous yesod that there's different types of dvekas, and we're actually going to divide them into 3 general approaches of getting intimate connection to Hashem. Look down, Tzadi Ches, you see where it says Kuf Mem Tes at the bottom? See the note there? Noisefes Bir, some additional explanation. Hargashas ha'or nechlekes legimel mahalchem. When we talk about going through life and developing more and more intimate relationship with God, there are 3 main categories of that. And they correspond to 3 of the elements called fire, water, and air. Let's explain them one by one. Ha'achas deveka shel eish. The first one is when a person has a connection to Hashem with the theme of eish. What do you think that would look like if the Devekus shows up in fiery form?
Contagious.
Just like fire spreads, contagious. Yeah. Passionate, mamish, like fire. Like this guy is alive. He's on fire. And we say, the guy's on fire. You don't see a guy like this, he's like sitting there. You're on fire, man. He's like content and maybe very peaceful, and maybe in a lot of the Vegas, but you don't say like you're on fire. Fire is exactly what it sounds like. The guy is lit up, or girl. The guy is, I want you, Hashem. I want you. I want you. There's a feeling, a contagious feeling of like, this person really is alive and warm with feelings of, I want this relationship. I want this relationship. I want this relationship. Sadly, that I want has fallen to the dark side called, I want the Jets to win. Patty! Holmes! Don't let me down, man! Got money on this game! Oh. That's called fire and passion falling to bad places. What are you so fired up about this guy? He's good at throwing a ball. Very nice. If the purpose of life is to throw balls around, then maybe it's something to appreciate. That's not the purpose of life. Maybe take the discipline that you're very good at throwing balls around and put that discipline into building an orphanage. That discipline in being somebody that shows up every day to save humanity. Take those qualities and do something with it. That passion, though, that's the Vegas of Eish. I want to fire up and stoke the feelings inside of me that I want to be close to Hashem. Next, Hashem is the Vegas Shel Mayim. The Vegas called water. What does water symbolize in Kabbalah? Anybody know? Pleasure, very good. Water symbolizes pleasure because water makes all pleasurable things grow. When you don't have water, you don't have anything geschmack. When you have liquid, all of a sudden everything is growing and everything's geschmack. That's why every beer commercial and every long weekend, but everything's by the pool, everyone's wet. Everything is just water everywhere because it's all pleasure, taiva, oinig. So it's easy that can be used on the bad side. That's taking pleasures and having forbidden pleasures and not using pleasures in a healthy way. But on the side of good, that's devekas to Hashem through really enjoying the pleasures that Hashem gave you in a healthy, holy way. That's called getting married in a healthy way, in a holy way. That's called enjoying food on Shabbos with other people. That's called the pleasure of beautiful conversation. Shehi tanug v'roiga v'shalva nifla. Tanug means deep pleasure. Roiga means deeply content. When a person's very much in a content state of, it's really, he feels at peace, at pleasure. That's also water. Like a still pond. It's just peaceful. That he gets to a place where his soul is very much at peace with the pleasures of being close to God. Whereas opposed to fire is a different type of devekas. Fire is the guy is fired up. And they're all right. But there's different times for different styles of devekas. And we want to start to encourage all of them. But it's important to note that you want to kind of take note of when you're experiencing different things. Or maybe which ones you're better at. And increase that and utilize that. Sha'odam margish ech kol ha-metzias ha-makifa oisa hi rak ha'or ha'eliki. This comes when a person realizes, Hashem, there's nothing but you. All of reality is you. That makes a person a very calm and content person. Because he didn't do something, she didn't do something. It's all Hashem. It's very, very peaceful. Our world is struggling with anxiety in a very challenging way. Because the problems that water is out of whack. We've taken those pleasures and gone to forbidden areas. That's everything just anxious. But if we can make the pleasures kosher, there's a feeling of being content. A happy marriage would be such a good example. When a person's happily married, he doesn't need to go looking after all this weird, forbidden stuff in the world. He's not anxious. He says, Baruch Hashem, I have a wonderful wife. I've got good kids. I'm settled, I'm content. He's not anxious. He's at peace. It's working and helping with Shalom Bayis in this world right now. And people, boys and girls, preparing themselves for marriage in real ways. Very, very important. V'kedeisa b'kisvei hagra. You want to know something interesting that the Vilna Gaon said? It says the Heilige Vilna Gaon, she'ikar hatanug began Eden. The ikar pleasure in Gan Eden, the ikar pleasure when we go up to the Garden of Eden, is hu bechinas tanug shel mayim. The Gra says, what it looks like up there is not like the fire dvekas, there's that also, it's the water dvekas of just really just good, deep pleasure, content, deep confidence, settled, the opposite of anxiety. Whatever anxiety is on this side, whatever is the furthest away from that, everyone's I wish I had that. The furthest away from that is what Gan Eden looks like. There's no fidget toys in Gan Eden, by the way. Gan Eden is just like total roga, mayim, pleasure, deep pleasure. Like when a person is at a tish and he doesn't need to go anywhere. He's not taking any selfies. It's like, oh, I better catch this image right now. I better make sure that I, have some dvekas by capturing it on a picture right now. No. Just be here now. Just be in the dvekas. This is one of the things that we did a couple weeks ago by singing for at least half an hour a song on Friday night to sing a niggun together. Is that we weren't going anywhere. In Gan Eden, by the way, you sing Nugunim for like 30 trillion years. One. We did it for 30 minutes. And who was here for that?
I wasn't there for the whole thing.
So for those that were mamish there,
We walked in, we thought people we weren't sure what was going on.
because there was a feeling like that we're in a different plane here. And how often do we give ourselves that space to just be in that pleasure? I started to feel the emes, like a certain out-of-body feeling of like, because once you know what you're going to be saying, you're like in a mantra. So all of a sudden, like you detach from your body because your body's kind of just moving, and then your soul just starts soaring. So I was like, I'm so not bound down by this, and I started to just feel such peace, and I wanted to just go on, forever. So in Gan Eden, we're going to be singing it for like 30 trillion years, Ana of the Kudusha Berichu, and it's just roga. The final devekis, hashlishis, devekis shel avir, is the devekis of air. Shehi devekis etzem. Avir means a devekis in total connection to the essence of God. Why is that connected to air? Sheyesh lohudi beboyroi. Kedugma sa'avir she'ena adam yochel lechayis belodav, because you can't live without air. Air is life, even though Hashem is even more than air. Air you can live with for a couple minutes, but it's the closest thing we have in the physical world to something that you can't live without. It's like life itself. That's when we get to that place of the vakus of air. There's a feeling of Hashem. You are existence. There's nothing. I can't do anything without you. And why air? Because air is the most sublime of these elements. Air is, water you could see it, fire you can see it. Air is sublime. That's why it's the most connected to, so to speak, God's essence. Like just touching the essence and this thing that I can't live without, even for 1 second. B'siyat d'shmai, tomorrow we're going to be going on. What happens when sometimes I don't feel? Here we're talking about when we start feeling the Dvekus and these different styles of feeling. We mentioned today the Dvekus of fire. We mentioned today the Dvekus of water. We mentioned today the Dvekus of air. But what happens when I'm not always feeling it? So how do I keep moving forward? Because you're going to have times where you feel it and times when we're not going to be feeling it. How do I keep moving forward in this relationship with Hashem? Mitzvah Hashem, we'll talk about that tomorrow. We should be Zoicha Mamish, the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, B'mehera V'yameinu. Amen. Amen. Have a wonderful day. Kol Tov.